Hi, my name is Richard Harrison. I teach English here at Mount Royal University, and I am with Lee Easton, the co-author of this book, Secret Identity Reader, Essays on Sex, Death, and the Superhero. And my interest is comic books and graphic novels, and I just came back from the San Diego Comic-Con, and I have, for proof, this bag. This is the standard bag that they give you when you get into Comic-Con, and you can buy your posters and artwork and books and all that sort of thing. You pack it on your back there, and away you go. There were 140,000 people there this year, enjoying all the comic and pop culture related things. Comic-Con. Comic-Con is all about influence. The movie guys are there, Hollywood types are there showing off their new films, the TV people are there with shows like Big Bang Theory and Community and Dexter. All of those actors are there. The comic book business people are all there, Stan Lee, Grant Morrison, Neil Gaiman, Marvel, DC, Dark Horse. They're all there to meet the fans, mingle with the crowds, and try and suss out what's going to work and what's not going to work on the screen and in the stores. It's actually, Comic-Con is now billing itself as a family of conventions. One of the issues at the convention has been over the last 5 or 6 years is the tension between the comic book origins of a lot of these characters and their movie versions, that kind of thing. I've been to Comic-Con a couple of times, went down in 2009 and delivered a paper from this book on the relationship between Superman and Batman's origin stories. And I went down this year to discuss the relationship between comic art, graphic art, and teaching and education. So it was right up another alley that's really important to Mount Royal, is the relationship between what's going on in the world right now, the world of media, the world of cultural production, and how that affects the way in which students learn. So I've come back with a whole lot of stuff to think about everything from the way in which the comic books operates now, the way in which the comic book character is embedded in pop culture, which is surprisingly different than it was even 2 years ago. There's been some really big sea changes that I'm looking forward to exploring. And the question about what's going to happen when this form of expression moves more and more into even the dominant mode of discourse.
If you had to pick one highlight for you, to put it on your fan hat, being there this year, what would it be?
I would have to say, I would have to say it would be 2 or 3 things. One is I got a chance, this time I went and made sure that I got a chance to speak to the creators of the 60s and 70s, the comics that I grew up on loving. And so I had a really, really great time to talking with people like Roy Thomas, who wrote the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, a lot of characters, Wonder Woman in the 60s and 70s, really set the tone for the stories that are being played out now. Ramona Fraden, one of the very, very first women artists who invented Metamorpho and is responsible for the sort of survival of Aquaman as a character. Jerry Robinson, the first guy to draw the Joker I saw. Neil Adams, whose artwork was pivotal in changing the Silver Age, sort of the late 60s to early 70s, the photorealistic stuff. So I really got a chance to get in and talk with these people. Because they're largely, they're still revered, they're still really important, but the people that, like I said, the comic book and the movie and the TV, that's where the center of gravity is now. So I had a chance to talk like half an hour, 45 minutes, with these people who'd written these stories that were really significant to me as a kid and remain significant to me as an adult, but compare, the way I read things from my place in this century with the origins of where they came from, and a large part of the storytelling that we're studying now was really driven by the desire to make a good story, just a good story. And so it was. I'm left really thinking about the relationship between academic reading or audience reading and the origin of writing. So I've got lots of things to think about, and I met these guys. My fanboy self was like, I met them. Great.
My name's Christy. I work at the Aniskum Center. I'm the administrative assistant, and this summer I got to go to Hawaii. I just went to Honolulu, and I was able to meet up with a really, really good friend of mine who I actually met working here at Aniskum Center. She's actually right there, that's Shalyn. And she was on her way back from Australia. She's been teaching there for a year, and then so we met up in Honolulu. And I got to go for 11 days, and we had a really good time catching up. But one of my favorite things that I did was I got to go on this hike to Manoa Falls, and it wasn't that lengthy or anything like that, but it was really fun, and it was super pretty. It started downpouring, and the trail was all slippery and stuff, which sounds maybe awful, but it was really fun and exhilarating. So. And I'm not alone. I went with expecting a baby, so I managed to find what I think is probably the happiest pineapple in the world. And so this is baby's first trip and first souvenir, so that was my summer.
Christy, if you had to pick one visual memory of a place that's as scenic as Hawaii, what kind of stood out the most for you that's maybe kind of wowed you a little bit?
And the scene, you know, we went to the we went up to the North Shore on Oahu, and it was just stunning. It was beautiful. There was such a beautiful beach and this inlet. I can't remember what it was called, but something bay, and it was just stunning. And it's exactly what you would expect from, you know, every picture you've ever seen of Hawaii is just like that. So it was really cool.
Right. Hi, I'm Sue Madsen, and I'm in continuing education as a marketing communications strategist. And this summer, I went to London for 2 weeks, and some of the highlights were Wimbledon, which is a lifelong dream. I plan to go on to every single major, if I can. The second one is eating at Fat Duck, which is a Heston Blumenthal's restaurant, and it was amazing. The third one was going to Royal Ascot, which is the Queen's horse racing championship. And the fourth was Bon Jovi in Hyde Park. And to be in the crowd of thousands, and I spun my camera around and everyone singing in unison, was probably the highlight.
My name's James Bailey. I work in the conservatory. Do you remember being 13? It's a confusing age. School is different, your parents are different, your friends feel different, the opposite sex, they're definitely different. There's a new world rushing at you, and you try to grab on to whatever you can hold on to define yourself. For me, that was music and heavy metal. That's how I found myself at the Rob Zombie and Slayer concert on July 30th. I was a huge fan of White Zombie when I was 13. I had all their records, I had a closet full of their t-shirts, I clipped magazine articles where I could find them, and I made VHS tapes of their videos when they showed up on Much Music. So I went. The 13-year-old me thought it was awesome. There's huge video screens with Japanese cartoons, music videos, old horror movies. Stuff was on fire! There was giant robots rolling around on stage, and John 5, who's probably the best heavy metal guitar player in the world, was on lead. There was a guitar feature about halfway through that the 13-year-old me loved. And there was a drum solo by the guy who used to play with Marilyn Manson. Whatever happened to Marilyn Manson? And well, I've grown up, and a 30-year-old has his own opinions about the show. The 13-year-old went out that night. And like a little monster, sometimes you just gotta let that 13-year-old out.